time they had in Birmingham.
Like Charles is better. Oh, we got it.
So can you just talk about what you've seen so far? I mean, it's early, a couple games, but have you seen the progress, improvement in the areas you want, especially defensively?
Yeah, I think we've been great defensively in those 2 games. Obviously, holding teams to the numbers we have has been great. Steals numbers, turning teams over, and then transferring that to offense has been great. So, I mentioned quite a few times, the guys play extremely hard. They're playing together for each other, unselfish on offense and locking in on defense. So that's kind of the identity we want to form. And we've thrown a few different coverages at them, and they're buying into it and working well in the games.
20 turnovers in the first half against the Pelicans, or forcing 20 turnovers, I should say. How much of that was just proper defensive execution versus maybe you saw the Pelicans making some mistakes out there?
A little bit of both. I felt, they weren't as sharp as they usually will be during the regular season, but our activity was great. We showed a bunch of the clips today of us being active off the ball, being in the right position, and we talked about pickup points and shifts and being in the right spots, and that's a result of that. Let alone, you got a guy like Tari and has great instincts, and they turn their back. He got 2 or 3 himself, but I think our activity was great, covering for each other, so it was a product of both.
I know you just mentioned Tari, but was there anybody else specifically that you kind of showed in those film clips of, hey, this person really stood out against the Pelicans and how you want them playing defense?
Well, I think our switching was much better from game 1 to game 2, so in general it was the whole team, but looking at a guy like Fred and Dylan, their positioning, and they're in the right spots most of the time, and it caused some of those turnovers. So those guys, the veteran guys, we pointed out, but Tari, Jay Sean, their activity was great, being aggressive, going after the ball, and they dug out a few steals that way.
Coach, is there anything that you all took from the 2 games that Jabari played in the summer league that you all are instilling early on in the preseason front end?
I'm going to say specifically those 2 games. I mean, he's extra confident, extra aggressive, and you saw that in summer league, but he finished the year like that last year. He carried that over in the summer league. Had a really good summer. Every time we were in open gym or playing against guys, some Kevin Durant and Jason Tatum and Kawhi Leonard and those guys out in California. I was out there quite a bit, so his confidence has continued to rise and build off of that. So he's been great in training camp, and I think we're seeing more of his progression to the end of last year.
You talked about how competitive they were. Last game, you talked about how competitive they were amongst each other. Have you seen that from him as far as the preseason is concerned?
From Jabari specifically? Yeah, I mean, I think our whole group is. That's what I love about our group. I mentioned we have to kind of pull them back in practice as we just finished the scrimmage now, and they go at each other hard. And Fred mentioned it before our first game. It's like, let's take it out on the other team. So that's something that I haven't had to worry about. They play extremely hard and be competitive, and so Jabari fits in with the rest of the group as far as that.
Coach, as good as this team has played defense over the last 2 games, is there anything on the defensive end you would like to see them improve on before the regular season starts?
Yeah, always harping on transition. And, a big part of that is our shot selection and taking care of the basketball. But we've been pretty good as far as that. I think just the switching in general, they're a little sluggish in the first game, got better in game 2. But we haven't put it on purpose yet. So they're doing well with what we're throwing at them. We'll continue to build off that as we go against other opponents.
Speak a little bit to Alfred's defense against Jonas. He's on that 0 for 4. A lot of times in the past, Jonas gave a Rockets a lot of trouble. It seems like Alfred was able to knock the ball back a couple times and really good defense against him.
Yeah, I think in general, like not only Alfie and our bigs, we have big wings that can guard, and so when we switch, a product of that, they'll try to find the mismatch, and I'm confident in our wings and big guards to be able to guard as well in the post. So, when they try to go away from what they do naturally, which is probably Ingram, McCollum, and Williamson doing their thing, they try to hunt a mismatch in the post. We feel that works in our favor, and so we stay locked up on our guys, make them score one-on-one, over Alfred, and he did a great job there.
Wemby is such an unusual talent. What kind of test is it to have your guys match up with him?
It's more of the same. I think, he's a perimeter-based guy for the most part, so we have a ton of wings and bigs that can move their feet and have some versatility as far as that. But, yeah, the size is different. Obviously, he's playing like a guard out there and obviously shooting over guys at his size. So it'll be a different challenge than playing against a traditional big, I guess. He's on the perimeter a ton, but like I said, I love our versatility, and we have a lot of bodies that throw at different guys. Last game it was Jabari got the start on Williamson, but we felt like we have Jay Sean and Dylan and all of our wings that can guard him as well, and I think it's the same situation with Wembanyama.
Do you think that's what you guys, but in general, the league will do, since he is so skilled on the perimeter, just defend him like he's a wing, even though he's 7'4".
Well, there are some bigs that float on the perimeter more, and have advantages when you put a traditional big on them, and might not be as great a post-up threat early on in their career, and so we feel comfortable with our wings because of our size and versatility there. So we'll see what the league does, but we just have a ton of guys we can throw at different players in general, and I think he fits in that category.
When it comes to teaching some of the, when it comes to teaching some of these younger players, getting them up to speed defensively, do you find it more challenging to teach them kind of the individual elements of defense, like how to close out on a guy properly, that kind of thing, versus the team elements, like how to help, when to rotate? Which one is a bit more challenging to kind of teach them?
I think team defense is always a little slower. Guys' reaction time to that. A lot of places are used to guarding one-on-one, and guys are great at that. But when you incorporate all of the team aspects into it, there's a lot more communication, a lot more reaction, and you have to be ready off the ball a lot as well. And that's the area we struggled last year. And we've done a good job this year, but you can see the improvement from training camp to game 1 to game 2 already. And so that's what the preseason's for, to kind of work out those kinks. And I think the guys that are catching on a little bit slower are finally getting up to speed, and the veterans are helping with that.
I know you've been back as a head coach before, but to go back in San Antonio, is it different from the other 28 road games for you?
Probably not this time around. I mean, the first every time was something different, and I did that in Boston already, but it was awkward going into a different locker room when you've been on one side for 10 years, but got that out of the way already, so nothing special other than probably catching up with Pop, getting a dinner or two.